You're watching Open Agenda. Here's our host, Joe White.
Welcome to Open Agenda. I'm your host, Joe White. In this episode, we're going to talk about the last county council meeting in March and also talk to you a little bit about how we're coming up on the budget season and just some of the questions you may want to ask of your local officials before they actually pass on to you some nice presents with tax increases. So with me in the studio to discuss that is Dr. Joe Venosa from Salisbury, Mr. Mike Goldberg from Delmar. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here.
Always a pleasure.
So at the county council meeting, they were able to approve a director of public works. It's the first time in 6 years that we've had a director of public works. We have had an acting deputy director, but that was considered an illegal appointment. So
Just a little. A little.
It's definitely been a lot of acting.
So it was neat because there was a great debate about where the salary should be, and we even Councilman James Wen talked a little bit about some stuff that happened in closed session. It was kind of nice to see that transparency roll right out in front of the public venue. But at the end of the day, county executive has often said that she does not have a county council that works with her, but they did. I mean, they did. They did what was in the best interest of the community, right?
Almost, I think, like 30 of her nominees have been approved by the county council. There's only been a small handful, with 3 or 4, that the council had an issue with, and they had good cause to have those issues.
Well, and then, Laura Hurley, the administrator for the county council, she has to make a public statement because the county executive did not either veto or approve the kennel legislation that the county council, there was a lot of pushback. County council made some mistakes, but they amended the legislation. They passed it, and they passed it unanimously. And she elected to let it go for 21 days without a veto or an approval. And in her words, cited some concerns about the procedure.
The amended version of Legislative Bill 2025-01 concerning commercial dog kennels was presented to the county executive on February the 19th, 2025. Under the charter, the county executive had 21 days to either approve or veto the amended bill. On March the 3rd, the county council received a letter from the county executive stating that she would not sign the amended bill due to a difference in interpretation regarding the procedural reconsideration of the bill. In accordance with Charter Section 411, if the county executive fails to return the bill within the prescribed 21-day period, the council administrator must document this failure in the official record, and then the bill shall become law. This serves as official notice to the council and to the public that the 21-day period has passed and the county executive has neither signed nor vetoed the amended bill.
But did we get to the right legislation with this, do you think?
I think, considering what the initial concerns were, I think it ended as well as it could have. I mean, in terms of what people were worried about initially and what the council did.
I think when we got to a point that at least two of the kennels went and hired lawyers to represent them, spend the money. This seems reckless. And then you get to a point that you could sign it, or hey, if you need to, veto it. To do nothing, I don't think is leadership.
Well, but again, that's not the point. The whole point was to rile up people before for social media clicks, as she intends to run for re-election. So she, in my opinion, doesn't give a darn about those people that now have spent money as kennel owners who were, in my opinion, manipulated.
Well, Joe, you bring up a good point. So it's officially election season now for our county executive. She posted on social media.
I do plan to rerun, so we will see if in another 4.
It's a year and a half away, but it's election season.
Well, I think it was election season when she did the budget. It wasn't a budget hearing. It was a Board of Education budget hearing.
This wasn't a budget meeting. This was a town hall for the Board of Education. That was all that was talked about. Maybe sometime we'll have a proposed operating budget meeting where we can see what the proposals are other than just a public hearing.
A couple weeks ago, and we've covered this. Sure. I mean, that was a very,
sure.
It was more of a campaign stunt,
yeah,
right?
Absolutely. Yeah, it was. It was like a timeshare, sales pitch.
Well, I thought what was interesting is the Delmarva conservative movement, was supposed to be the most conservative group in our community. They got the same pitch at their meeting in March.
But one of our biggest challenges that we have in this county, which is a good thing for taxpayers, but a challenge when you're trying to piecemeal a budget together, is our revenue cap. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that. It's a good thing because, like I said, it's more money in your pockets. What I would like to propose, potentially, if I even need to, and I'm going to talk about that in a second because I got new information, is instead of going from 84 cents to 80 cents, is maybe going from 84 cents to 83 cents. You'd still see a deduction, but we would have a little bit of extra money to be able to give to the Board of Education. I can only break that revenue cap for education.
I am against breaking the revenue cap. We all know the federal government's making cuts, trying to save money. The state of Maryland is millions and millions of dollars in the hole. All of those are going to end up getting put on the counties. We're talking about now having to take on the teachers' pension system. I'm not for breaking this revenue cap because it's just going to increase our citizens' taxes and stop looking for ways to spend more money and save some money for this county.
There's a lot of talk about breaking the revenue cap. I am absolutely not convinced that that's going to be the answer to the problem. I do know that throwing money at a problem doesn't necessarily make it go away.
I was somewhat surprised because it seemed like the focus of the budget was nothing more than how are we going to bust the revenue cap. There were other pages that were attributed to other incomes and other expenses, but for the most part, the subject matter ended up being nothing more than 4 options. And those 4 options were simply about ways in order to bust the revenue cap in order to pay for education. The 4 options, what that left out, which was, I think, somewhat disingenuous in a disservice to the public, was that it didn't tell you that there was also another $70 million that we get from income tax receipts and recordations. So why wasn't that option number 5? The revenue cap is here for 2 purposes, and I have no intentions whatsoever of busting the revenue cap. The 2 intentions of the revenue cap, the first one is to make sure that Wycomico County spends within its means. What's more important to me is that it's important to have a revenue cap in place so that we do not allow your taxes to go to such an extreme that it makes it almost unaffordable and unsustainable for families to exist. What that means is that with a revenue cap, when assessments go through the roof, fortunately in Wycomico County, the revenue tax says the assessments have gone up so high, but the revenue cap forces us to lower the tax rate. In other words, the tax rate, I believe, is now 84 cents. I think it's projected to go down to 80. If we were to go along with these 4 options, it would probably stay at 84, or it may be what was presented last year. And this is, I'm paraphrasing to a certain extent. Last year, let's say it was 90, and it could have gone down through the revenue cap, would have forced it down to, let's say, 96. But the executive put it down to 98 and sent out a press release saying, I've lowered your taxes. But what was, and this is exactly what happened. But what wasn't told, and what we issued as a second, our own press release, was that the executive did not lower your property taxes to the extent allowed by law. So you were short-sheeted about 2 cents until this council went to great efforts to make the cuts necessary to restore the revenue cap, giving everybody the full benefit of a full tax break, and at the same time still full funding Wycomico County.
So this pitch, I mean, look, our county executive is not only advocating for breaking the revenue cap on a one-time basis to fund education, she is actively stating now that she feels that we should look at getting rid of it.
Well, to be fair, her campaign contributors want that.
Well, I mean, so conservatism and campaign contributors want to raise taxes. Mike,
Well,
come on.
she's not a conservative. I mean, conservatives are fiscally conservative.
But don't throw it on my side because I don't think she's a liberal or progressive either. So I don't
Well,
I don't know where we're going to put her.
I don't blame you for not claiming her on that either. Of course not.
It's like the NBA draft.
But, the Delmarva conservative movement, its name does not really represent, what their political philosophy is. And Ms.
agree with that.
Giordano,
But Mike, they're address was the same as a Republican headquarters downtown.
Well, as a conservative Republican, I take a look at what's going on locally here in Wicomico County with the so-called conservatives, and I simply don't see them as being at all conservative.
I am very worried that anytime that we give our government the ability to break into new revenue streams without a check and a balance, it's hard.
That's not a conservative concern necessarily either.
Okay.
Like, I don't think getting more revenue or raising it or raising taxes is inherently a conservative liberal thing. Again, I think there's some philosophy to it, but I don't think what's going on with this particular executive and these issues, it doesn't fall into that as far as I'm concerned.
The only way you can control how much government spends is how much you give it. Right?
Yeah.
So I don't want the government in every aspect of my life. Do I want to see the public education to be funded at a level that meets the criteria to educate our young people? Absolutely, perpetually.
They're perfectly okay with raising taxes, breaking the revenue cap, and the local Republicans also seem to advocate concentration of power in an executive rather than a distribution of power amongst a diverse council. And I think as a Republican, as an American, nothing scares me more than concentrated power, because then not only do they control you from a social aspect, but they certainly control how much money they take from you and where it's spent.
And it's interesting to kind of dovetail with that is, the concerns that I have are also sort of how that group's social agenda is now going to be increasingly pushed into schools, because they have a particular social vision of how they want people to sort of both teach and learn. And we can debate the philosophy of that, but in the end, they're very sort of clear
And Julie said it several times. She's going to run on a slate on the next election. So this isn't just about a group or even just the county council.
Yeah.
The future one, not the current one.
Yeah, sure.
And also even the makeup of the Board of Education, because we see some DCM members who are a member of the Board of Education.
The biggest problem in Maryland is that there's only one party that's really in control statewide, and that's the Democrats. But the problem that we could have here in Wicomico County is that everything's going to be run by Republicans, and that's equally as dangerous. There has to be an opposition party to keep the party in power honest. We're not going to have that if the county executive runs with a slate.
Right. And again, part of the sort of the American problem is we have a two-party system where you don't have coalition building because the system doesn't, unfortunately, I think we'd all be perfect for that, but that's part of the problem. And so in a situation like with the budget or with the schools, you really are kind of forced sort of to be, if you're going to take a political angle, to be in one camp or the other.
One thing I know about government, it's rarely right or wrong.
Yeah.
It's usually somewhere in the middle, that it's either more right than wrong or more wrong than right.
But the problem is, as one U.S. Senator put it once, is that the problem if you take the middle of the road is that's where you get hit.
So, you talk about concentration of power. We're not going to be able to cover it on this show, but the Board of Appeals for Wicomico County is meeting tonight to discuss the biorefinery on Atkins Road. We had Joe Diggs and Rhonda Tomko in a couple weeks ago. We're seeing some signs that there is, we have board members who aren't invited to the meeting. We also have, the thought that no one else has really weighed in publicly. We have not heard from the county executive how she feels, and I know they want to let the process play out. But at the same time, a lot could happen at that meeting that happens to be this evening. It's Thursday, March 27th, 6 o'clock. What do you think, Mike? You're going to go and cover the
We'll be covering it, and unfortunately, nobody's going to see it until this show, our coverage of it, until after it's already occurred. But we're certainly going to be talking to the affected neighborhoods. One thing I can say, at least on the surface, it appears that they are getting due process. This has gone through planning and zoning. Now it's going to the Board of Appeals. I strongly suspect that it will wind up ultimately in the circuit court if the operator of International Biorefineries is rejected tonight. So I think this is going to take some months or longer to play out.
I mean, because let's just say that this does get rejected at the Board of Appeals. There's definitely going to be a lawsuit. And if it does get approved by the Board of Appeals somehow, there's going to be a lawsuit.
No doubt.
The lawyers will win. Don't worry.
And don't they always, right? So you're going to go and cover it, and we're going to get a chance to speak to some of the players there. I'm also interested to, you brought up planning and zoning. There's a lot of folks who think they're going to speak to planning and zoning tonight, and those are two different entities. And we're actually going to bring Mike Langford in later on this episode to talk about city council and the planning and zoning in there. Right now, Wycomico County shares planning and zoning with the Salisbury City. They're going to split those, and some concerns that come up in the city. But Board of Appeals is really where you go to get variance on a use of a piece of property. You can't get exceptions on things like density without a text amendment at planning and zoning. But Board of Appeals can give someone special permission to use a piece of property outside of the limits that it is actually zoned for, but not outside the limits that the zone exists somewhere. Is that pretty accurate?
Yes, I mean, this is a quasi-judicial procedure, but it's not the end of the road. So if either way, however, whatever decision is made, there will be opportunities to appeal to the actual courts, to the circuit court, I believe. And I think we can reasonably expect that's exactly what's going to happen.
I think one of the other cool things in the show today, we're going to bring Colin McEvers and a young Republican, somebody that I think Mike and I...
Supposed to old Republicans like me?
Or middle-aged ones
Older.
like me. Yeah, we'll go young, middle. No, I think it'd be nice to bring him in because, as much as Joe said earlier, there's that social philosophy, but we really need to hear what do young folks in the community, this one happens to be a conservative, what do they feel like they need to succeed when they're supposed to be in a position to take care of us as we're nearing retirement? So I'm interested to bring him in.
I'm looking forward to it.
He's done a nice job, whether you agree with him or not, at least making his point about the pepper spray ban on the campus at SU. Again, I'm not here to debate the merits of his argument, but anytime someone takes the time to use themselves as an experiment to prove their point, that's somebody who's got enough passion to take them across the finish line.
Absolutely.
So, all right. Well, stay with us. When we come back, we're going to have Colin McEvers on the show with us, and we're going to see what some of the young folks in the community are thinking. So stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Open Agenda. I'm your host, Joe White. We wanted to bring in some of the younger members of our community and also talk a little bit about just how Salisbury University and their population are maybe impacted by some of our local politics and how they feel about the state of politics right now. So in the studio with us is Colin McEvers from SU and Mr. Mike Goldberg from Del Mar. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here.
I'm one of the old Republicans.
Well, we were going to get to that later. When we do the timeline, there'll be dinosaurs, you, me, and then Colin.
I remember them well.
But in that
Oh my God,
order.
it's a good order. That's pretty funny.
So, Colin, you're the editor of the Bury Post.
Yeah. So
What is that?
I started the Bury Post back last year in May. May of last year it was founded, so it's not even a year old yet. But essentially, I was in the old school newspaper, the Flyer, which is the official one that's paid by the school, student activities fee. It comes out of the pockets of students on campus, so they get paid for our work. And I was one of the editors that was getting paid, and I just didn't like the fact that they weren't doing a lot. It was spring of 2024. There were only like 10 articles written, and the fact that people were getting paid for that, like stipends of $1,000 or more, like $2,000, $3,000, was just not right to me. So I wanted to cover more things that were going on around campus. I wanted to, make it so that we had a source where people could, exercise their right to freedom of speech, freedom of press more effectively. Because with the Flyer, there were a lot of instances where articles that were not in accordance with, the political opinions of the editor-in-chief were just denied.
Okay.
And they weren't published.
So the censorship.
Censorship, exactly.
So are you
exactly.
an independent newspaper?
We are an independent newspaper. We're not funded by anyone currently. We have brought back print newspaper back to Salisbury University. They discontinued it back like 2 years ago because they said that people weren't using it. But people like to like flip through news, and it's also a really good way of getting the word out that we actually have student media and student press on campus. So we actually just came out with our second issue a couple days ago.
How else could people find you if they can't find the print version? I mean, are you on social media?
Yeah, we are. We have an Instagram page called theburypost.su. We also have a website where we post all of our articles, things that happen on campus, whether it be, back last year it was, or last semester it was the hazing incident that happened, or well, not necessarily hazing. It was the major thing that blew up on campus about the frat beating and all of that. That was a major
assault.
thing. The assault,
Yeah.
exactly. So that was a big thing we covered. We cover a lot of different things. We have a news website called theburypost.com.
So theburypost.com is a website someone could go to if they're not into social media.
Exactly.
Okay. And you've also been very politically active in the community. What position? Explain a little bit about what is Lower Shore Young Republicans and what your position there is.
For sure. So I joined the Lower Shore Young Republicans and local Republican politics back in September, late August, and I was doing some campaigning for Larry Hogan, for local candidates, for Andy Harris, things like that, and so that kind of got me into the sphere of local Republican politics. And I've always been conservative and right-leaning ever since I was a kid.
Okay.
So I was involved with the Lower Shore Young Republicans. I eventually became vice chair of the chapter because there weren't too many people involved. And then in January there were elections, and so I ran for chairman of the Lower Shore Young Republicans, and I was able to win, luckily. So I was really happy about that. And now we've been expanding, we've been growing. Our main purpose is basically recruiting young Republicans on the Lower Eastern Shore, getting them involved in local politics, sending them out to campaign, to door knock for people to actually do stuff in the community,
Okay.
to actually make a legitimate impact rather than just sitting around and complaining about, whatever it might be, political issues, Democrats. Actually go out into the community
It is
and make a
much.
difference.
It is much harder to go out and be a part of it than it is just to complain about it. right?
Exactly. It's
So-
so much easier just to complain.
So Mike and I are both conservative Republicans, and obviously different age groups. What is it about your age demographic that people out there should know about? What does it mean to be young, conservative, and Republican? What does that mean to you?
I would say what it means is to me at least, and to a lot of people, it's just taking on individual responsibility, personal responsibility for our actions, for our work, having a strong work ethic, not feeling dependent upon the government, not feeling dependent upon other people for what we're doing. It's just it's going out into the world, making a life for ourselves, trying to build a life for ourselves as young Americans. I think that's one of the most important things. It's also another major thing is just is freedom of speech, for sure. Just making sure that we have the right to talk about whatever we want to talk about, to express our opinions without being censored, without being called terrible things, without being called names, without censorship. I think that's really important.
It's well known that most public universities are bastions of liberalism.
Oh, yeah,
How
for
do you
sure.
feel that your group, Young Republicans, fits in? Do you get the hairy eyeball a lot, or are you able to convince students who may be politically neutral that conservatism and conservative policies is in their best interest?
Oh yeah, that's really difficult. I mean, it's so hard to get people to actually go out on the campus and say that they're Republican, to actually advocate for Republican initiatives.
You have to hide.
It's yeah, exactly. A lot of people hide. I decided when I joined the College Republicans, which is different from the Lower Shore. So I'm the chairman of the Lower Shore. I'm the treasurer for the College Republicans at SU. But I decided it'd be good to go out and table and promote the initiatives on campus, to actually talk to students, try to recruit them to articulate a message that we have a space in the Republican Party for these young people. We don't want them to just be liberal and leftist and join the Democrats.
You feel like you're making headway?
I think we are. I think we are, but it's just so difficult because you just get a lot of hate. You get a lot of criticism. People will make things up about you. They'll call you terrible things. They'll go on anonymous sources. They'll say, this guy's an awful person. He's terrible. He does this. He does that. They'll just make up a lot of terrible things
The
about
use
you.
of social media in that realm has got to be really challenging to overcome whatever vitriol somebody wants to spew out about what they think you are, what you stand for. Is that something you encounter?
Oh yeah, it's really challenging. But what we need to do as young Republicans, as young conservatives, is just make sure that we're responding to those things, and we're saying if a lie is spread about us, if we're trying to advocate for an issue and they call us out, they call us awful, they call us terrible, we just need to respond back and say, no, this is important. This is important to stand up for. We're fighters. We want to get out there. We want to promote this message. We want to, advocate for self-defense on campus. Right now, there's a pepper spray ban, for instance, and a lot of people really care about that because it's a crime-ridden place. I mean, campus crimes are really high. Salisbury in the area, it has a really high crime rate. So,
well, let's talk about that because I mean, you used yourself as a test subject. I mean, on social media. I don't think that young lady on there attacked you out of broad daylight, right?
No, it was definitely staged. Okay. I was not just.
I'm glad you weren't hurt. Yeah.
I'm glad to. I was hurt. Trust me, it was really painful, but it was all staged. It was all planned. I figured it's good to promote an issue that's as important as a pepper spray ban because that should definitely not be on campus. People should be able to carry pepper spray and other self-defense items without the fear of punishment. But just getting on there and saying that and promoting it might not be as effective as pulling like a stunt where a lot of people find it funny, they'll reshare it, they'll post about it, they'll talk about it. So yes, I did decide to get pepper sprayed. I asked my friend Sage to spray me a couple times, and it really hurt. It incapacitated me for like an hour.
So if you were in a situation where your life was in danger, you were in danger of being assaulted, you would have had time to get away from the assailant.
Oh right? Yeah, definitely, for sure. Yeah. Because you pepper spray them once, they can't open their eyes. They're not going to be worried about attacking you. They're going to be, in a ball on the floor, like trying to get that pepper spray out of their eyes because it's really painful and it's really effective. For someone like me that's really big, yeah, it'll put them down immediately.
Well, you talked about something earlier. You talked about personal responsibility. Mm-hmm. So the person using the pepper spray does have a personal responsibility for the deciding to use that. I mean, you're not advocating for people to be able to randomly pepper spray their friends as a prank.
Of course.
You're saying, hey, listen, this is a method of last resort.
Exactly.
And yes, there are consequences, but there would also be consequences if you weren't able to defend yourself, right?
Exactly.
So what do you and you brought up about the crime area in Salisbury. Mm-hmm. Salisbury, not every area is even, and even SU's campus kind of straddles what could be seen as one of the nicest neighborhoods in the area and also one of the more dangerous ones.
Right.
How are we picking and choosing which college students could defend themselves on their way home from a night of classes?
You're right. Currently, the current policy just it prohibits all students from being able to carry pepper spray unless they have like a written slip of permission from the chief of police, which is really unfeasible. People aren't going to go out of their way to get that, and it's really difficult to do so. So my idea, and what a lot of people think, is that people should just be able to carry it on them to use at their discretion. Obviously, there are going to be consequences if they use it inappropriately. If they break the law, if they spray someone for no reason, then yeah, they need to be punished. But adding a self-defense exception to the current policy and saying students can use it for self-defense reasons because it is a legitimate concern. Some areas around Salisbury University, some parts of Salisbury are nice. They're nice places, but then you have really, really bad parts of Salisbury that are around here too. And people, it's a party school. People are going to parties back and forth, so they need that on campus, off campus. It shouldn't be prevented.
Serious crime can happen anywhere in the best of neighborhoods as well as the worst of neighborhoods.
Well, and didn't we just have an instance this past February of someone being assaulted in the parking garage off of is it Wayne Avenue, Bateman Avenue?
Oh yeah, definitely. So last year, like February 11th, I think it was late at night, and a girl some homeless guy tried to kidnap her. She was able to get away. She wasn't harmed, but I mean, he tried to kidnap her. He tried to force himself upon her, and these things happen. There's a large homeless population around Salisbury, and like you said, it doesn't matter, even if there are nice places, even if there are nice parts of campus of Salisbury as a city, bad things can happen regardless. So people just need to be able to defend themselves. Fundamentally.
There are statistics out there about sexual assault. The majority of those are committed by someone you know.
Mm-hmm.
So this could even be a young lady in her dorm with someone over, and things are not going the way they should. This may be her last resort to defend herself, and she lives on campus. I mean, she may be trapped in her own room.
Exactly. It's not even just like walking around outside or off campus in some of these scary parts. It could even be like a friend or someone that the person knows, and they want to, just defend themselves. Most of the time it'll be someone that's like an assailant that's trying to, that's mostly where like pepper spray is used. Like someone comes up, tries to attack you, tries to kidnap you, like what happened in February in 2024. And being able to carry pepper spray and use it to just put that person down as soon as possible is really important.
Long enough for you to get away.
Exactly, long enough for you to get away. And as a pepper spray victim myself, it gets better. Like it's like an hour and a half. It kind of sucks when you get in the shower and it's like collecting your hair, it runs down. It sucks. It's terrible to get pepper spray, but it's not lethal. It doesn't leave lasting. I mean, it can in rare cases, but it's just a good way to get someone down to, escape a situation. And I'm trying to run on that I'm running for vice president, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you aware of any incidences on campus whereby somebody used pepper spray inappropriately, where there was not a threat, just a prank or a joke, or?
I can't think of any off the top. I can't remember like seeing any news stories about that.
So
or
people have
shared.
behaved responsibly with it.
Oh yeah,
Because
definitely.
we know by and large it's still being carried. It's just against policy to do
Exactly. A lot of people that I talk to about it, when I go out and I say, hey, there's a pepper spray ban on campus, we need to end it, a lot of people are carrying pepper spray already. And because of that, some people will say, oh, well, that means it's not enforced. It's unenforced, so you trying to end the pepper spray ban is meaningless. Or local news sources, you'll see representatives of Salisbury University, they'll say if pepper spray is found on someone or if it's used by someone in a self-defense situation, that student could, their punishment could range anywhere from, some kind of a warning and a hearing in that way, or even expulsion from the university, which is just, that
very
shouldn't be
penal
happening.
for someone who wasn't asking for any trouble. So.
Exactly.
I'd just like to remind the administrators of the University of Maryland system that self-defense is in my view, our single most fundamental human right, and to infringe on that right is entirely un-American.
No, exactly. And University of Maryland, actually, they have a self-defense exception, and that's like the biggest school in the state of Maryland, I believe.
35,000.
35,000.
Yeah.
It's a huge campus, so of course a lot of crime happens there. But they have a self-defense exception, so students can carry it around on them. And Salisbury University doesn't have that yet, so we're trying to tell the administration we need that self-defense exception so that people are able to carry it around without being at risk of being punished.
So there's a different set of rules at the University of Maryland College Park than there is at Salisbury University.
Exactly. I mean, there's a state law that I believe representatives of the administration of Salisbury said that state law prohibits regular students being able to carry pepper spray or other things like dangerous chemicals around with them at government buildings, like I guess SU is. But they can fix that by adding a self-defense exception, because there are exceptions.
It's reasonable, and you're bringing awareness to it.
I'm trying to, yeah, and it's been difficult. I mean, I'm running for student government election currently.
When is the election?
It's it's today and it's tomorrow and it ends tomorrow.
Okay.
But and circling back to the whole republicanism and standing up for conservative values on campus, people know me as a right-leaning figure, and so I look on social media, I look online, and I just see a bunch of hate, a bunch of insults, a bunch of lies being spread about me on the daily, and it's hurtful. And I can see why a lot of people that are Republican students on campus don't want to stand up and say that they're Republican and stand up to the administration, which is very left-leaning. It's because they're going to be attacked relentlessly from their own students and from people who want to silence them and discredit them. And I think that's just wrong, and I think the people that do that are, frankly, immature and disgraceful. But I still have to go out and stand up for these rights. I can't just hide away.
Listen, what you speak of, we can completely understand. Even sometimes when you're standing up to your own party, even on a local level, you can find that there's just, especially through social media, and folks who run like social media blogs and that sort of thing, they're just able to use that platform, whether it's monetized or not, to just really try to discredit anyone who just has to speak out on the other side of an issue from them.
For sure.
So I really hope that you hang in there.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
The one thing that always helps, just continue to be shining a light on whatever issues you see in front of you. And I wanted to ask you one more question. What is it you want older Republicans to know that maybe some of the older rhetoric, the older platform is less important to the next generation coming up? Is there anything that sticks out to you?
I mean, for the older Republicans, as the leader of the Lower Shore Young Republicans, of course, I attend a lot of the Republican club meetings in the area, like Comico Republican Club, Delmarva Conservative Movement, things like that. And a lot of the people in these groups are, of course, a little bit older because they've been in the game for quite a while. I think just using and being able to utilize social media more is really important. I think that is one of the key reasons as to why Trump was able to win. I believe his son Barron informed him about going on these long-form podcasts, speaking to people, just having conversations like we're having right now, basically, about these issues. Because when people actually hear these discussions and hear these conversations that are unedited, long-form, that aren't just little snippets of something that's said or the other, then a lot of people agree, and they say, oh, this person actually, maybe I am willing to vote for this person. Maybe I do. Maybe this person, believes the same kinds of things that I do. Maybe they're not a terrible person. Like you were saying about the social media stuff. There are a lot of rumors that are spread, but if we're able to utilize social media effectively, and we're able to have these, long-form podcasts and other forms of promotion, then I really think it's an effective strategy.
Well, Colin, thanks for coming in and spending some time with us. We
thank
wish you
you.
well in your election.
Oh, I appreciate it.
And
I appreciate it.
we'd like to maybe, before the semester's out, if there's not too many essays and exams at the end, maybe catch back up with you and just see what the vibe is at SU as
Definitely.
the students start to leave for the summer. Will you
sure.
come back in?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I'd love to.
Great.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. So thanks for watching this segment of Open Agenda.
I know what I'm doing, man.
Look at the camera
you can
directly
look at
and
it.
say, fellow Americans,
it's-
I did not have relations with that woman.
You weren't even born yet.
No,
That was really good.
I wasn't.
Really? That's
Yeah.
scary because it's like yesterday to me.